Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Yvonne and you are on Ginger Chick Rehab, where I love to take thrift store finds and make them over here on the channel and share the process and my vision with you all what I do to these items. So it seems like every thrift store you go into, no matter where you're at, you always seem to run across some kind of animal cutout, some kind of wall hanging, shelf sitter, something like that. So in today's video, that is what I am sharing with you on ideas of how to make these over. So my first one is this cow, black and white, very black and white, a checkerboard. And I'm going to start off by sanding that checkerboard off. And now I'm going to go ahead and spray this with some primer. I'm going to be using the Rust-Oleum's Enamel paint to do so. This is a nice primer. And it could be your finish coat if you wanted to. I just love that it dries in 15 minutes so you can move on with your project. Now after it's dry, I'm going to go ahead and take the sander, and you can see we have some texture there. This is like a press board, MDF board, so it's a little bit where some of the paint and varnish or whatever from the original would have been there. I just want to make sure that my next paint that I'm putting on here is going to grab, so I'm just going to lightly give this a quick sanding. Oh, I am super excited to try Pantry Drawer by Sweet Pickens Milk Paint. Give me a comment below. Have you tried the milk paint? Oh my gosh, I just am now introducing myself to using this, and I am quickly falling in love. So it's equal parts. So it's one part the dry, one part water, and then you go ahead and mix it. And it's nice because you can mix little small batches for little small projects like this. So when it comes to mixing, it's like a 2-minute stir. I know some people use whisks, some people use those electric beaters, but I find that it mixes pretty easily. I haven't done a big batch yet, like for a piece of furniture, but it really doesn't take that long. And I can tell when I'm stirring it, it starts to get air bubbles. It's got a really unique texture to it. But for 2 minutes, I stir it, and then I set it off to the side for like another couple minutes, just so it sets up a little bit, that it has like a pancake batter consistency to it. Now for me, I apply it with a brush, and all I'm doing, it's pretty runny and wet, so I kind of like do a tapping motion, kind of just moving it around. It's not the same brush strokes as you necessarily would be to brushing paint on. I noticed that you will definitely see through it. I'm not sure if it's made just for a one coat coverage, but usually so far I have been doing like one coat and maybe some touch up here and there. But the fun about this milk paint is it's unpredictable. So it will crackle, it will chip, it will just stay painted, and it's just going to be a surprise when it dries. So as it's almost dry, I can really see some of the crackles. I love some of the black showing through. So there's really some opaque areas, some where I can almost see through it a little too much. So that's what I mean. I just go back in, and maybe you can cover the whole thing up again. I really haven't found a need to quite yet, and maybe that helps it crackle more. Yet again, I'm not really sure. Everything's just a trial and error when you're first trying something out. So I'm just touching up those little areas that I think the paint is a little too thin in. So now that it's dry, it's time to give it a sanding. Look at all that yumminess. There's so many different textures going on. That's what I said. It is unpredictable. So now I'm just going to take some 220 sandpaper, and I'm going to sand it so that I'm distressing the edges, so I'm making the paint nice and smooth. And it sands really easy, but I just want to add a little bit more age to my piece by getting down to what's underneath. This is a personal preference. I want to bring out that crackle, some of that amazing patina a little bit more. So I'm going to use a little bit of Jolie's black wax. I'm just going to add a little bit on it. I have my Varathane natural clear wax to wipe off any excess. This is going to seal the paint in, and it's also, see how quickly it starts popping and giving a little bit more age to that patina. So I let this completely dry overnight. I want my wax to be sealed in because I want to add some wording. I just think this is a fun fun old sign. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually going to create my own type of stencil using some of the funky junk stencils. I'm just going to take some pieces and parts from her stencils and add them together. So right off the bat, I'm just going to be using that Farm Blend grain on this one. I'm using Fusion's Coal Black paint for my stencil color and just a little bit of paint on my makeup sponge from the Dollar Tree store. Just a little bit of paint goes a long way. You don't want to have so much that goes underneath your stencil. So I don't know about you all, the hardest part about a transfer, a stamp set, a stencil is finding the right project to use it on. So it's fun to take bits and parts of what you have and then create a little bit unique and unusual wording. So that's what I'm doing here. So I have this next stencil that I just want the livestock off of. So yes, I'm just kind of taking the pieces apart. I'll list all the stencils down on Funky Junks in my description box, but it is fun to look at your stash and think, oh, what can I create? What can I use to recreate something? Now I have this cute little bunny. I don't know, y'all, drop me a comment down below. Do you see all these little wooden animal cutouts all the time at the thrift store? And I have a tendency to be drawn to animals, so I end up picking them up and have quite a stash of them. So yes, this little bunny one just stole my heart. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the wire to start working on this one. And then I'm going to go ahead and, yep, sand that down. I really just need to get the wording off of it. So, yep, I'm testing out another one of Sweet Pickens milk paint. So this one is window pane. If you are a regular on my channel, you knew I just love this one just for the name because I love old windows. So, yes, we're going to do equal parts again. So this is just a coffee scoop that came in something, so it's just whatever the scoop does not come with them. It's just whatever you have laying around that you can use. So this coffee scoop is coming in very handy to mix this paint. Now that I've achieved the pancake batter consistency, see how it's runny but not too runny and not too thick. I'm going to go ahead and this one's going to be almost like frosting a cookie, so where you don't necessarily go all the way out to the edges. And remember I said it is unpredictable, so you just never know. So a little bit of cracking going on there. Not some huge chunks by any means. So I'm just going to go ahead and take some 2-in-1 sandpaper, sand any of the extra off. And this is going to really show off that crackle just by taking the bumps off from that were created when I was applying the paint. I'm going to repeat the same process like I did on the cow earlier with some of that Jolie black wax. Just a little bit. If you go on heavy, that milk paint is dry and it'll really absorb it in. So I just want the black wax just to bring out the patina a little bit more. And then I'll rub on some of the natural wax and that'll blend it all in. And then tone it down and seal that in. And I did probably get ahead of myself here when I was putting the wire back in. Sometimes that just happens. So, yes, so I'm just putting the wire back in and then giving it that twisting motion on the front with needle nose pliers to secure it. So this is why I said I think I got ahead of myself. I thought I was just going to like it plain, but I really want to add a little bit of wording. And I'm going to use one of the palette stencils from Funky Junks to put a little bit of wording, a little bit of signage on here. So I'm just deciding which part will fit. So this is just a little bitty bunny, so I don't have a ton to work with. That's what I mean when I say you're always wondering, like, okay, I have an idea in mind, but sometimes the item doesn't always fit it. So you kind of have to rethink the way that you're using it. Now here we go again. We have another little bunny. This one is not painted, and it should be, there we go. It stands up on its own. So the nice thing about doing smaller projects first when I'm trying out this milk paint is that I can test out and see the true color. So this is a Sweetie Jane. The names are just so stinking cute. It's a very airy paint. Like you can see the air bubbles. It's just a cool texture. So I'm just going to go ahead and let that dry, and then we'll get that sanded so that I have all that texture down. See how it dries in pockets and leaves little crackles here and there. Yeah, it's just an amazing. And so far, for two of them, you know, the smaller pieces, I was able to achieve just one coat, and that was plenty. Another little unfinished one, and it's a little bitty piggy. Is he not? Okay, he's not lit. He's little, but he's round. So yes, and this was a handmade piece. It's got a hanger on system already on it. Most of them I'm not going to worry about. I can see a lot of these being shelf sitters. So yes, I am going to go ahead and do the in a pickle. Oh, this is like either you like it or you don't like it type of color. See, I'm not worried about complete coverage at all. I think it gives it even that older aged look when you sand it. So it is what it is. Whatever covers, whatever bumps, whatever crackles. I'm kind of into that unpredictable, which is really hard, but it is kind of fun. The patina that it leaves behind is just amazing. So yes, let's get this sanded and see what we have underneath. So yes, I'm going to put a little bit of wording on this too. Now, I think I said that wrong. I think the first one I used on the bunny was the shipping container stencil, and now this one's the palette stencil. They're very similar, but I'll link both of them down in the description below. I just love random numbers. But anyway, I think this product of export is going to be funny on the pig. So same thing, coal paint from the Fusions, a little bit of just a little bit. You know, you don't need it to be dark and heavy paint by any means. You're just making just a shadow of those numbers with the stencil. Now we're going to, kind of change it up a bit. Look at this beautiful little rocking horse. It's just too sweet. And I know these are things that just seem to get overlooked time and time again. I know that I see them for weeks at a time at my local thrift store. So I'm going to start off with this one after I got it all cleaned, just some Clorox wipes. They're really not filthy by any means. Doing some primer on it. Well, this is just the spray enamel paint from Rust-Oleum just to completely cover and make sure that my paint is going to adhere. This kind of had a shiny coat, but it's kind of a rounded item, so I didn't want to sand it. For this one, I'm using the window pane again. I just love the black and white. I hope my hope is that this one will really crackle, because I don't plan on doing any wording on this one. So we'll see how this goes. There's just so much detail in this little piece. Yeah, I may not have got it completely covered with the black paint, but when I go to my finish, it doesn't matter. You'll see why. How many of you all do a happy dance when you're like, yes, that's what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to do all that crackle crazy going on there. But first, the milk paint is runny, so I'm going to take my time and just get this back cleaned up of all that drippy paint. Just one of those steps that just makes your product, if you're reselling, just a little bit more professional. I did not sand it to begin with. This is where I want to sand it. So as you see, I'm just gingerly going in. I don't want to press that down a long time. I just gradually want some of that paint to show through. I want the colors to show through, but I don't want to take them all the way off. So I rather go little by little. And you could do this by hand, but it'll take a while. There's some detail areas I am going to have to do by hand, but I rather just go in very, very gingerly. And I did not know the tail must have been broken, cracked. I don't know. So the power of the Orbital sander that's good. You rather fix it before you go to resell anything or use it for a future project. So I'm just using a little bit of CA glue and then just going to hold it in place until it dries. It takes about 15-20 seconds. And of course, you can't get everywhere on this smaller piece with an Orbital sander. So I'll just go in and hand sand. I just really like the old chippiness that this milk paint is giving. All that detail, now that I'm sanding it, is just popping through, including the colors, which just gives it that amazing age. But plenty of crackles and that color's coming through. So I am just going to seal the milk paint in using some clear Varathane natural wax. So now y'all are going to laugh, because if I tell you the story that while I was waiting for my paint to dry, I have a habit of running into my local Goodwill that's like 10 minutes from my house. Not when I get to my new house, but this house is 10 minutes away. And here this pig So I'm like, oh, I have to buy him and bring him home and make him over too. How did they know I was in the process of doing these? So yes, I'm going to go ahead and pop off this hanging hardware though. So I have to say he is pretty darn cute though, but yeah, we're going to make him over. So I'm going to go ahead and get him sanded down. There is actually like a type of top coat on here. So we need to get that sanded down. I don't need to take it all the way down, but I do need to even it out. Not sure if that white will show through my finish, so I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick spray just to get that covered up. So luckily I still had some of the window pane left, and I always put it in a grocery bag, you know, just in case I need to touch up anything until my project is completely finished. So I'm going to do what I consider, I'm calling it the cookie decorating, where I don't go all the way out to the edge. I want to see some of the natural. I want to see some of that black. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this on. And one coat has been covering for me. I'm sure it's because that it is smaller items, but so far so good. I love that black peeking through. I don't need to put any of the black wax on it. There's plenty just beacon. So there again, I'm going to go ahead and create my own little version of the Funky Junk stencils using pieces and parts of her stencil. I love that livestock. I love the feed. It's just fun to create with these stencils. Cleaning your stencil is pretty easy if you do it as soon as you use it. So all I do is put a towel underneath, some kind of a wet wipe, a wet cloth, what have you, and then I just wipe it down. I've learned to put something underneath because it will leave the impression underneath if you do not. And especially it's nice cleaning them the way I'm using it, where I'm reusing the same stencil and then taking pieces and parts of the stencil. That way you don't accidentally have any other wet paint that might be on there. Went ahead and used a little grain leaf on the bottom, and now I'm going to go ahead, I want something a little bit on the top, I want something a little bit on the bottom. I like that they're different fonts. I think it gives it some unique character. So I'm just going to do grain underneath here and then the farm blend on the top to complete this signage. I just absolutely love creating with these stencils, and I love these little critters. And yep, sometimes you're like, well, I still have a little bit of space and my grain's all the way down there, so I might as well just even the space out and put the year on there. Oh, who doesn't love a little woolly sheep? It's a cute saying on there, but I'm going to change it up. And I actually have a different product I'm going to try on this, but I do need to get at least that wording off of here. And then it has just a stapled on piece of twine that was easily ripped, but now I got to get those staples out. So this is actually Sweet Pickens Crackle. So I think you could probably use it under the milk paint. I'm not sure. But I wanted to test it out. I'm just having a lot of fun testing out new products. So I thought the sheep was the perfect opportunity to use that Crackle because I liked his color. I didn't want to take away his black of his feet or the black of his little face. So yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and evenly apply it. So it says the thicker you put it on, the bigger your crackles, the thinner you put it on, the smaller your crackles. So I'm trying to apply it very thin. There was a hard part to this project is waiting the 2 hours before applying your paint. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I can be impatient. But luckily, I always have other projects I'm working on to set this off to the side. 2 hours later, I will say to apply it, it's almost like honey, like a sticky honey. And then, so it is a little tacky after the 2 hours. So I'm going to try, I don't know, we'll see how this goes. I am going to use Fusion's Coal Black on here and we'll see what happens. And y'all, do you see that? As soon as I am applying it, it is already starting to crackle. I'm like, oh, I needed to have a little bit more full coverage than I wasn't expecting it to crackle that fast. Sheep was amazing. Once it crackled, it crackled. Now I'm on to this little garage sale in a 50-cent box from a guy who's retiring that had a booth for years. So, and he was just so happy that I bought the little dog that he said he's had forever. But it's a wiener dog. But the wording, I guess maybe it's the wording that's on there that the Frankenmuth is not what anybody wants. So all I'm going to do is, it's funny because I planned on painting this piece and making this piece over, but y'all wait till I get this little doggy sanded and get that wording off. Yes, you can see the detail already popping. I can't even imagine painting this beautiful piece. This is a beautiful color of wood that was underneath here. So all I'm going to do, it has little eyelet hooks already, so I'm just going to put wire back on it, and I'm going to call this little puppy dog good. So thank you so much for watching today's video. What did you think? Yes, these animal cutouts are usually pretty cheap. They're pretty cheap, even, you know, at your secondhand stores, your thrift stores, your garage sales, you know, somebody's already painted them. So let's repurpose them, give them new life, change them up, give them a little bit of wording or keep them plain, and just try some fun techniques on them. They were just that crackle. Oh, amazing, amazing. And stepping outside the box and using the funky junk stencils on them. You know, taking a couple stencils and creating a different little wording on them. That was a lot of fun. So give me a quick comment down below which item I made over today was your favorite. Do you have any of these little animals laying around that you're like, hey, I can make this into something new? And as always, give me a quick comment. Have I inspired you in any way to look at thrift store finds in a new way? Again, if you're part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. And if you're new and you're checking out this channel for the first time and you liked what you saw, please hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know we've uploaded a new video. And we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye.